friends! Thanks for coming back to my little channel. Today I am going to repot my Begonia Pavonina. This is a rhizomatous begonia, so it has a rhizome. This particular plant is also called the peacock begonia, and the stems are pink, which is pretty cool. And the undersides of the leaves are red. These leaves are kind of fuzzy and shine blue in certain lights. Right now it's just in a little 2-inch pot, and it's been like this for a while. I got it from Steve's Leaves maybe 2 months ago, and it needs repotted. So it's pretty top heavy. And so I've had it in my coffee mug so that it stays. It needs watered as well, and I have some blooms starting to form back here, as well as some other growth points. So I'm excited to get it out of this little tiny pot, and the only stuff I have for repotting is another little plastic pot. I was going to repaint them, but I don't really care. So I'm going to save this particular pot for probably some propagation. I might try to take one of the leaves off of this and propagate it underneath a cup just to raise the humidity, and so we'll get going. So what I have in this pot here is some potting soil and perlite. It's the only stuff I have, and I really don't want to go to the hardware store for anything today, and so we're just kind of using what we have today. So this guy has a lot. Wow, that's cool. So this is the root system. I don't know if you can see it from that far away. I'll zoom in or not. Actually, let me just get up close. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but they're like, it dries out pretty quickly for me. And here's another shot of the stems and the leaves and the flowers. Anyway, so this plant is native to Malaysia in the forest, so it grows in deep shade. And today I was watching Betsy Begonia. Hi Betsy. Yeah, she watches this, whatever. It don't matter, she's amazing, watch her. She was talking about her Rex begonias, and she was saying that her Rex begonias need to be moist all the time. And I was watching someone else that said her Rex begonias need to be, she lets them dry out. I let mine dry out. That being said, I do have air conditioning, so I do let this dry out, and I don't have to worry about like crazy heat fluctuations because of my air conditioning, so that helps a lot. So this root system is pretty well established, and these guys do like to be a little bit more tight in the pot. So I've been holding on to it for about 2 months. Maybe it's only been a month and a half. I think it's closer to 2 months. I did not want to take it out of its pot too soon because they do like to have tight feet. So what is a repotting or one of my videos without something to drink? So I just have a little bit of garden soil with some perlite. And I'm not breaking up the roots. I know a lot of people do that, like especially if the plant has been really struggling. This guy has not started struggling, but whatever. It has, to me, kind of slowed down in growth. And part of that was just like kind of transplant, shipping shock, and all sorts of, like, who knows? So this guy's a little bit unruly. what I'm going to do, I think, is I think I'm going to take these 2 leaves down here because that still leaves plenty of the plant up top. But I would also like to just make sure that this plant is healthy and maybe make a few babies to give away. So I did some research on how to propagate begonias, and there are certain begonias that you can propagate certain ways. Like with rhizomatous begonias, you can just cut off some of the leaves. You can also put them in water, and you can cut the leaves up. I should say that I reuse pots all the time. Most of the time, I will wash out a pot with soap and water, and then add the new plant to it. But I am not doing that in this case. I know this plant doesn't have any pests. This plant came from this pot. I'm actually gonna need a drink for this because I'm really nervous about cutting this. I actually really like how the plant is growing one way as well. Like normally I'll turn my plants, but I actually really like it this way.
Lends a certain drapey character to it.
Yeah, and
you like drapey plant.
I like drapey plants. I think I'm figuring it out. Well, I got a drink, so Begonia gets a drink, I get a drink. Oh God. Oh God.
Okay.
So I didn't get up close on the cutting, and I'm probably not going to get too up close and personal on this propagation either, because I'm not sure it's going to. One, I'm not sure it's going to work, and 2, I'm not really sure how to do it. From what I understand, though, I can just take leaf cuttings and cut along the veins and stick them in the soil, or I can water propagate them. Buddy, sorry. So along with avoiding unnecessary water on the leaves for this plant, I have seen that it needs higher humidity and needs a terrarium. I have a humidifier in my bedroom, and I keep it between, I like to keep the humidity around 50% for sleeping, and then, fun fact, I can also put my plants next to it. Hey yo. But I do not keep this guy in a terrarium. And he's doing pretty good so far. I've only, like I said earlier, I've only lost a few leaves and the growth has slowed down, so that's part of the reason why I'm replanting it. Again, if your apartment, house, backyard, shed gets hotter, you might need to keep it in an actual humidity dome or terrarium to ensure that this will not crisp up and die on you. So I have new soil in here and I've watered it. It got a drink, I get a drink. And I think that what I'll do with one of these leaves is water propagate it. I do have a small propagation station in my north facing window, which is right here. Ta-da! I have some golden pothos, some Brazil philodendron, and part of a snake plant that fell over due to wind. And this will just sit right here. This is kind of where I do all of my propagations. I have a few cuttings. I have some cuttings that are rooting. I did a string of hearts propagation, and if you are at all curious about that, take a look at my string of hearts propagation video. So most of the time it just gets bright filtered light. And I'm gonna set this back here. We'll see how that does. I might go back in later and cut the really long petiole to just cut it down. All right, so on to the experiment. So I'm cutting off the gigantic stem. And from what I understand, you are supposed to follow the ribbing on here and you can cut it into several pieces. I think I'm going to do 3 separate pieces and put them all in here just to see how it does. What I'm going to do first though is just I'm just going to kind of water this real quick. That way it makes the soil a little bit easier to work with. Oh boy. Okay, anyway. Okay, I just gotta do it, Okay, I'm not gonna cut it down any farther. I'm just going to stick these pieces, and I could be doing this totally wrong. Experiments. So all I'm doing now is just digging a little hole to put the leaves in. And you want the veins to be in contact with the soil. So I didn't do that really well. Again, this is an experiment. I'm doing 2 experiments. Neither of them have a control. Oh God, science. So I'm just curving these pieces to fit. I'm gonna put a little bit more soil over the top of these just to make sure that they're all kind of in. So this is the finished begonia. It has a green-blue iridescence. I really love these bright green, almost neon spots. The undersides of the leaves are these beautiful. This is the little propagation. Anyway, so that's kind of how you make new plants. Thanks for joining me on my begonia journey. Subscribe or don't. I mean, it'd be lovely to have you around, I guess. Unless you want to watch me panic about planting more things. Okay, thanks, bye!